What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 76 of the Thoughtful Banter podcast. I'm your host, Matthew, with my co-host, Hussayn.
Yes, sir.
It's been a rough one. As you guys can see, we're mic'd up with some external microphones right now.
Mic'd up.
Because we were at the library yesterday, and we recorded a whole episode, and, I think we cooked a bit. We're actually beginning cooking, and apparently none of the audio was saved on our mics, and it was recording. Hussayn confirmed it was recording, and it just didn't save to an SD card. But a lot of plans,
and it saved the file before, but just not that one.
Yeah, we run test files now. We have some processes, but we still a bit janky right now. But a lot's happened. So first things first, our condolences to the Muslim Ummah right now. As of last week, the Israelis assassinated Sayyid Nasrullah, who was a leader of Hezbollah. A lot's been happening geopolitically. So in the last 2 weeks, I believe Israel struck Lebanon 3 times. And Sayyid Nasrullah was like that third strike. The pager business went down. Yeah. And then a week after, Iran retaliated against Israel, successfely, I believe, blew up an airbase. And yeah, let's get into all that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's like the really heavy stuff. A little bit before I want to jump into that, I just want to give you guys an update on how the podcast is going to look moving forward. And we're always going to deal with the controversial, hard hitting topics, if you will, and even say some things that might get us in trouble. But basically, I'm leaving this area, so I'm moving from here to another state, and so all of our recordings are going to be virtual. All our podcast recordings are going to be virtual. The content is still going to be good. Obviously, you're going to miss out on some of the stuff that you gain from the in-person conversations. But the good part about the virtual aspect is that it's a lot easier it's a lot less moving parts to coordinate a recording session. So hopefully we could be even more consistent and upload more while I'm there. But yeah, that's just for you guys to know.
That's a good point. It's so funny because it's like when we can record in person, we don't want to record virtually. It kind of feels like, why would we do that? That kind of sucks. But having to record virtually, like, you realize it does make more sense if the goal is just to be able to record podcast episodes themselves. Yeah. Again, I'm going to miss this like in-person vibes. But we're going to be more consistent, which we need. We've been very inconsistent. Yeah. And I think it would also be easier to potentially get on guests because, not having to fly someone in or fly to someone, etc. They can just hop on a Discord huddle. Yeah. And chat. Yeah. So geopolitically.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a crazy time. I mean, I have nothing. Pretty much everything that you can say, I think we've already said. Israel is a bully. They've been a bully for several years, several decades. And they're just continuing to prove that they are a bully. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much the beginning and the end of it. I don't know. There's been plenty of like discussion. I don't know if you saw did you see that clip that was circulating? I don't know how real it is. Nowadays in the age of AI and like these deep fakes and stuff, I'm like even more skeptical than I was before of whatever I see. But supposedly there's this video of this BBC reporter, I believe, and she's whistleblowing. Her figure is all like you just see her figure, but like her face and everything is all blacked out. And she's talking about how like they were told the line you say is Israel has the right to defend itself. Like it was impressed upon them that they had to.
They were briefed,
basically. Yeah. Like they just had. This was the line and the angle they were taking. Israel has a right to defend itself. Israel has a right to defend itself. Israel has a right to defend itself. Like that was the whole thing, and it was super interesting. I don't know if you have anything in particular to add to that, but like we see there is a media push in one direction, but it seems like, and this is something we commented on before, it seems like the everyman or like the lay person, right, who previously didn't have any real knowledge about what was going on in the Middle East, seems to be more aware of this kind of stuff and even siding with the Palestinians. Right?
Yeah, it seems like there really doesn't seem to be much of a truly organic pro-Zionist or pro-Israel stance. Like a lot of these people who are pushing this are quite literally being paid. Like the Israelis have entire budgets of like paying influencers. Everyone must remember still, right? It was only, I don't even think a year has passed where influencers were even like screenshotting, like they're getting emails from like Israeli media, and they're paying them for posting about Israel being great to come to. There is an entire like agenda. These people have so much money where they would just, and there's all these different avenues where they're trying to make people be pro Zionists, right? And you even see with Muslims, like you see now like Muslim influencers who are like who are being paid to say like we're Muslim Zionists, you know, like some like rich Arabs in like the Emirates, I think they're like holding little Israeli flags. I'm like, there's nothing organic about this movement, you know. It doesn't make any sense. And I definitely think the layperson is like, dude, what's up with Israel? That's just like the because the only like you hear Israeli points and they don't make any sense, and you just see like very simple questions they can't answer. And like Mehdi Hassan demonstrated that wonderfully. He had a recent debate. And
Piers Morgan,
he left no crumbs as per usual. Shout out to Mehdi Hassan. I shall get him on the pod one day. But man, like he was eating up Piers Morgan, and quite honestly, like they've lost at this point. At this point, it's a lost battle. I don't know what the heck the Israelis are like planning to do for the next steps, because the entire international community is sick of these guys. I mean, when right before the strike on Sayyid Nasrallah, when Netanyahu went to the UN to speak, everyone walked out, and it was already like pretty much an empty room.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just walked out, and like, what's the game plan here? Like, how can you survive not having any allies when you're a tiny country that's completely insufficient by itself?
Yeah, there's an interesting, like, back to the layman point, like even the people that are like, oh yeah, well, I think Hamas and I think Hezbollah, I think these guys are terrorists and shouldn't, you know, be doing XYZ. They're like, okay, but the indiscriminate like bombing and murder that Israel is committing is even beyond the pale for them, right? And so they're like, oh, well, you don't give a proportionate response to terrorists, but it's like, okay, how many civilians are you going to kill in the name of self-defense, right? And philosophically, there's I don't want to get too nerdy, but there are like these arguments, right, where it's like, okay, they say whatever, why in warfare is it allowed to apply standards to the person engaging in that offensive warfare that you wouldn't apply to an individual? So for example, if I'm in a train station and I see someone kill my mom, right? And then I kill that person, and then I kill their family, and then I kill
their neighbors, because they're associates,
and then I kill their extended family,
and I kill the people who they're in WhatsApp groups with. Like,
exactly. Like, and all of this is in the name of like me defending myself. It's like, at what point does it get past that, right? And so how come I can place this burden or this like philosophical, you know, not burden, but I guess allowance on this international superpower to do this to everyone?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
But as an like if you take that and try to apply it on an individual level, everyone immediately would recognize the absurdity of it.
Right, and like most people would hear the scenario, and even someone who's a bit more, I guess, on the like an eye for an eye view, they might say like, okay, you know what? If the guy killed your mom, you can kill the guy.
Yeah.
Right. Or maybe, oh, you kill his mom, don't kill him. I'm not to say that's good, but that, you know, but I'm just saying that's, some people might understand that, but everyone understands like, wait, what? The family, the friends, the neighbors, that's quite literally what the Israelis do. And here, and Mehdi Hassan makes such, it's not just him, like, hey grandma. It's not just him, like, it's really easy to make these points, like when the Israelis say things that go against each other so often, right? Like you hear stuff where they'll say quite literally, not a single bullet goes without us knowing exactly what the target is. And then you'll see like, okay, well, how come like 20 paramedics from the Red Cross were shot? And they'll say like, you know, they were
fog of war,
fog of war, or they'll say, oh, well, you know, they were moving aggressively, like saying something like that. And it's like, wait, hold on a second. You know, like for those paramedics to run in, they're in touch with the Israeli government. They're like, can we proceed, right? And they're given the green light, and then they get shot. Yeah, Scott Ritter, who's like, he used to work for American intelligence, is super smart and is very patriotic. Like, he is not like some Muslim Arab who should care about Palestine. He is extremely pro-Palestinian. I love him. He was just like, he talks about the atrocities and like, you know, and this is just one example of like at least upwards of like over 120,000 other civilians this happened to. But of that little 5-year-old Palestinian girl who was trapped inside of her car with her whole family, and like one of her cousins in it, and the entire it's all recorded. Like, the Israelis unloaded gunfire on the car. They killed her mom and dad, and then she's alive in the car with just like her older cousin, and she calls for help, and they're like, "All right, relax, stay calm," and they shoot again, and this 5-year-old girl's on the phone with her cousin dead now, and she's freaking out, and like, the paramedics run in. They get the green light to run in, and they shoot the paramedics. And the girl's on the phone screaming for help, and it's just a child. And the only thing the person on the other line can do is just like try to calm her down and like get her to read verses of the Quran. And then they shoot again and she dies. And that's like one civilian example. And like, mind you, these people always focus on like all the Israeli apologists. They're always trying to reduce the death tolls to drastically low levels that don't make any sense. Like, I think only like 10,000 people have died this whole time, bro. It's like, what are you talking about?
First of all, that's still a lot of people that had nothing to do with.
You hear the Israelis are insane. They're like, oh, only 10,000.
Like, this is still a lot of people who had nothing to do with the conflict, right?
Yeah.
And then you hear like these silly things, especially about like the pagers, like, oh, it was the most tactical, you know, precise, and they killed 300 civilians. 300 civilians. And it was the most tactical, ethical thing that, first of all, that goes against some kind of international law about booby trapping.
Probably 20 different laws.
Like, you're not allowed to like booby trap like random, like common household items.
Yeah, like Tupperware. Imagine you're just eating some. You're eating your lunch and it blows up in your face.
Yeah, like, you're not supposed to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I wonder why. Like, yeah. I mean, you know what's bad if America's like, hey, yo, we don't do that. Like, I don't understand. Like, these people don't have, I don't know if they've ever had the plot, but at this point they've certainly lost the plot.
Yeah.
Additionally, I want to talk about Iran. Iran's being put on the map. I'm seeing clips of Iran's got aura.
The aura edits.
Iran's got aura, and you know, I think it's interesting because a lot of the Ummah hasn't really given Iran its credit because it's like, you know, Shia country, and it's like, the Shia kafir. But I think a lot of people are at least opening their eyes more to Iran and looking at, you know, just wondering like what the Iranians believe. What is Shia Islam even? I'm even seeing like some clips of Palestinians, you know, becoming Shia, which I wouldn't say necessarily matters to me. Like, that's not the goal by any means.
Yeah.
You know, but it's interesting to see like Iran having an impact. And also, like, it's so funny. And you mentioned this when we recorded this before. I'm going to steal your point. You can maybe steal one of mine.
Okay.
But it's really interesting because how Israel and Iran calculate success is very different, right? The Israelis are like, you know, Iran struck, but didn't kill any of us, so their attack sucked. And the Iranians are like, yeah, no, we like caused like over $100 million of infrastructural damage, of like military infrastructural damage, you know. And it goes to show the difference in mindsets, and also it goes to show like Iran, people aren't giving Iran enough respect because they're able to make it past the Iron Dome despite allies assisting this Iron Dome that's supposed to be like impenetrable. It's not. Despite allies assisting them, they infiltrated the Iron Dome, and they decided not to target civilians. And by no means that should be the bottom line, but when you're dealing,
minimum.
Yeah, it should be the bare minimum, but as the Israelis shown, it clearly isn't. And I guarantee you this, like, if I could bet, if betting was halal, I'd put everything on this. If the Israelis could have struck Iran with the same magnitude, 100% they would have aimed for civilians. and they would have tried to kill as many civilians as possible. As we can see in Lebanon, where they're indiscriminately bombing. Dog, they're killing the Palestinians, and then they're just casually bombing Lebanon.
Yeah.
Like, who gave you this audacity, this arrogance? Anyway, sorry, no. It's just so frustrating, though. It's like, I know I'm a broken record, but it's like, man.
What I don't understand, I mean, okay, I guess I don't not understand it. It definitely seems deliberate, especially when you contrast what the Israelis are doing in Gaza and Lebanon to what they did in Iran to Hania. Like, that was precise. Right? It wasn't a block. They didn't carpet bomb a block of a neighborhood in Iran to kill them.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it makes you think, I mean, like, I was going to say, like, neither of us know, like, the intricates of war. Like, there might be defense. There might be tactical reasons why. Like, maybe I don't know how.
I mean, there is a tactical
reason. Was it
why.
airspace wise?
There is a tactical reason. They have no interest in. They want to eliminate the people of Gaza. That's the tactical reason.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, why not do a bomb that's not as precise? Why a precise strike in Iran and a non-precise strike in Lebanon?
I don't know. I think perhaps there's more, like, internationally, there's more of a headache. If you carpet bomb a neighborhood in Iran, like, you're asking for a lot.
Well, they've been begging.
You're asking for a lot.
They've been
like,
begging this whole time.
That potentially is, like, really, like, a war, like an act of war.
There's been like 12 acts of war at this point, man. But
no,
I see
mean,
what
you're
you're
right.
saying. I see what you're saying.
Like, even
it is an escalation for them.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because it's just like a neighborhood.
Like, that would be crazy.
Right. Yeah. But everything has been an act of war, man. Like, we just learned relatively recently that the whole strike on Qasem Soleimani was the Israelis' idea, anyways.
Netanyahu, yeah.
Yeah, and Trump was pissed at Netanyahu because Netanyahu's like, "Hey, let's do it together," and Trump did it by himself, and Netanyahu was like, "I'm out," because probably because the Iranians will strike Israel hard if they knew it was their idea. Mm-hmm. It's messed up, man.
But yeah, I think I was saying this in the last time we recorded. I think potentially, though, maybe a little bit counterintuitively, Iran actually retaliating may actually get Israel to cool down a little bit. Because I think then America kind of has an incentive to step in and be like, hey, we actually don't want, like, a full-blown war here.
Right.
The only reason I keep saying this, and people, I guess I don't know, people have different opinions on this. I don't think the relationship is Israel tells America what to do by any means. I think the relationship is America is only doing this because they see some benefit in having Israel in that area. And if they stopped seeing that benefit in having Israel in that area, then they would just let it go. I don't see like a reason why that's like the whole, like, America has been trying to nation build in the Middle East for years,
like 100 years at this point,
years, right? We were in Afghanistan. We tried to nation build
Iraq,
like, in that region for decades,
even Iran.
On decades, trying to nation build in that area, and completely unsuccessful. The only bit of success that they have is that area, for whatever reason.
Which is an interesting thing to call a success.
Success, whatever.
Right? Yeah.
Because they're not a democracy, and Mahdi Hassan kept saying that to Piers Morgan. Because Piers Morgan, like, his fallback was like, "Oh, but they're a democracy."
What the hell? Like, and by the way,
they're a democracy.
Who cares?
No, well, the idea is like, well, why would I believe the terrorists against the democratic country? That's one aspect.
Piers Morgan, the British person's talking about a democracy.
Yes.
I mean, like, how long has England been, like, even a proper democracy?
Y'all
had a queen like a year ago, bro.
But they'll say the queen is symbolic as
symbolic for slavery.
I guess.
Symbolic for having kings and queens.
Yeah.
Stupid.
But anyways,
I hate British people. I hate Pierce Morgan. I don't hate British people.
That's like the
my dad's British, but I hate Pierce Morgan. Continue.
No. My like raging red, white, and blue comes out in regards to Canadians and people from Europe.
I only feel like American when I'm talking to British people about anything, and I just hear that. No. I'm like, listen, bruv. You don't want this smoke again. Some tea gonna get spilled in the Tim's in it.
Some tea gonna get spilled in the Tim's in it.
Back off, bruv. Like British people are so fun. Anyway, sorry.
Tangent.
And your beans and eggs for breakfast.
Yeah,
your wacky
beans
meal.
on toast is crazy.
Beans on toast and bad weather. Miss me. Sorry.
This took a turn.
It did take a turn.
But yeah, basically, what we said at the beginning. Like, I think, I don't know. We'll see where this goes.
And it's hard to record this episode because like we already said our points. So like we're trying to get like back excited, you know. But like, I'll say this again. I've said this before actually on a previous episode that we've recorded. Back to Iran. This is a reminder for the whole Muslim Ummah, right? And I'm not trying to make this about sectarianism, but sectarianism is a fact of reality. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to ignore facts just because they hurt your feelings. Mm-hmm. The Ummah has different sects, and for the majority of the entirety of the Muslim Ummah's history, Shias have been an extremely oppressed minority. Mm-hmm. It's only in recent history, really since the Iranian Revolution, since Shias have actually had a safe haven to practice their interpretation of Islam. And it's only been since really the Iranian Revolution since we've even been able to like properly cultivate a lot of Shia knowledge and disperse it globally.
Iraq was there too, but yeah.
Yeah, well, you know better than me. But this is to my knowledge, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But like, I know like the Iranian Revolution is like a really significant for this.
Like pre-Saddam maybe.
Yeah, because Saddam cut that out. Yeah. So in recent time, people like to just hate on Shias without even knowing anything about Shia Islam. Mm. And this is the majority of Muslims, right? But I will say this is a loud minority on social media. If you just see if they see anything Shia in their timeline, you know, their algorithm's recommending for you Islamic content, and you're scrolling, and then you see a Shia thing, and the first thing you go to the comments, there'll be a comment that says Shia detected, opinion rejected, 50,000 likes. And I just want to ask these people again, if the Shias are kafir, if the Shias aren't Muslim, why is Iran doing more work than all of your Muslim countries? Qatar is watching. They're not doing anything.
Yeah, the kuffar are putting y'all to shame.
Yeah, so us Shia kafir are really putting you Muslims to shame. Is that it? Mm-hmm. These people really need to rethink their definition of what a Muslim is. Because I don't know about you, if my Muslim brothers were being murdered, and the whole Ummah did nothing about it. I mean, not a single Muslim did anything about it. And some Chinese dude who didn't believe in Islam at all was just saving the Ummah or at least fighting my enemy. I think to myself, what is better about his belief system? Because clearly, like, our beliefs dictate how we act. Mm-hmm. I will say there's something wrong with my Islam. Again, this is not like people like to glaze over this point because it's uncomfortable. I just want to remind y'all, it's not just that these Arab nations are not fighting Israel. These Arab nations are normalizing relations with Israel, and they're shooting down Iranian missiles against Israel.
Or not taking in Palestinian refugees.
What the heck are you guys doing? What's the excuse? And I know it's not the majority of Muslims. Like, again, I'm not trying to demonize the whole Ummah here. Mm-hmm. The citizens of these countries really are really pro-Palestinian most of the time. Yeah. But I'm talking about the leadership. And, you know what the difference is between the leadership? Iran's Shia. That's the difference. Uh-huh. They're both people. All governments got corrupt people in them. All governments have their own agenda. Yeah. One Shia, one, and all the rest aren't.
I don't know if you remember, but when Iran first did their retaliation against Israel, like a couple months ago, on like Sunni Twitter, the humongous talking point was like, Iran didn't really do anything. This is all a symbolic act so that people have more empathy and sympathy towards Shias. Like, that was like the big talking point. Again, probably a loud minority, but a loud minority on social media, on the internet, talking about, oh, this is just to, get them used to you being okay with Shias and for you to be happy about Shia this. It's like we're always on their mind. They're so obsessed. Anyways. Sorry, I just have to go on this point. And I've said this before. I don't think about the kafirs that live on my street, bro.
Right. Right.
I don't think about them.
Right.
They're not a thought in my head. If they do something nice for me, I say thank you.
Right.
And keep it moving. I'm not like dwelling, oh, he's probably trying to get me to... No. Anyways, that aside.
No, they focus on us. They focus on Shiism because it makes them uncomfortable, because they think to themselves, what could we be missing in our practice?
I don't know. Probably maybe on a subconscious level. I don't know if it's that consciously or not. I don't care.
Right.
They're just it's a little ridiculous. But yeah, so that was a talking point on Muslim Twitter. It was like, oh, this is just to normalize Shiism, right? The Shias. Like, that's the only reason Iran did this. And it's really a bad talking point when you have Daniel Hakikachu, Mr. like Ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Wahhab himself, right?
Yeah.
Right. Come out and actually say something in defense of Iran. Now, he didn't say, I'm defending Iran.
Right.
He probably couldn't. But what he did say was, even if I grant you that Iran only did this for optics and only did this to have people gas up Shiism and Shias, what is we still haven't gotten past the part where no other Muslim country, Sunni, Wahhabi, whatever, has done anything.
A single thing.
And in some cases, like Matthew said, they're actually aiding
right
Israelis in their demolition of Gaza.
Right. The only three countries that care is Iran, Lebanon, Yemen. Yeah, I give the Yemenis credit. Yemeni are built different, by the way, because they're the poorest out of the three countries, and they don't care. They don't care. I mean, they truly they must have no love for the dunya. I respect it. And yeah, like what a trash talking point, especially because you think like, yeah, that's an expensive way to boost Shia visibility.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Oh yeah, Iran wants to go to war with Israel and lose its and like lose civilians because we really need people to love Shias. Like, we don't care. Iran doesn't care. Like, you know how long we've been hated? We've been hated since the Prophet's death. We need like Arab approval now. We need the Saudis to be like, yeah, y'all good? We don't care. That's such stupid brain rot.
Yes,
It just struck me. For 1,400 years, the Shia have been hated. You think Iran's going to war with Israel, risking its life, so the Ummah can convert to Shiism?
No, hold on. Not convert. Be like, think of a Shia and be like, maybe they're not so bad.
Maybe it's not so bad. But I think no. But they're thinking convert. And again, that's also the difference between Sunni and Shias.
They think at the end of the road, yeah. Like,
Yeah,
that's
but
like the end goal, yeah.
But also, hey, newsflash, we don't really even care about dawah like y'all. Like, I'm sorry, Shias don't think Sunnis are going to go to hell because they're not Shia.
Depends on who you talk to, but yeah, on the most part.
I mean,
yeah.
okay, there's always going to be in every single group of people. There's always going to be people who think if you don't believe exactly what I believe, you're going to hell.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's not a majority opinion of like any kind of like. There's no like. From my understanding, there's no like scholar who's giving fatwas who's saying, yeah, this is like legit. Any alim, like who's legit. Yeah. But yeah, we've recorded long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. More coming soon, inshallah. Let us know what you guys think. This has been controversial. Don't cancel us. In fact, do. Salam.
Peace.